My name is Emily Hooper, and I chose the topic of school retention for my speech. School retention is when a teacher feels that it would benefit a child for one reason or another for them to repeat the same grade for 2 consecutive years. Retaining a student is not an easy decision and should never be taken lightly. After researching the topic of school retention, much to my surprise, there are very few positive outcomes. I chose the topic because I have 2 children, one biological and one adopted, who we chose to hold back in the 2nd grade. Having 2 very different experiences with our own children, I wanted to look into the topic further and see what other outcomes were, what critics felt about grade retention. Sadly enough, I did not do any research when the teacher suggested that my child would benefit from being retained. I felt that the teacher was the professional and would definitely know what was best for my daughter. Therefore, I simply took her advice and I hoped that my daughter would show improvements in the coming year. Grade retention affects 2.4 million students every year in the United States. The most common reasons for school retention are immature behaviors and struggling in academics. The biggest positive effect for school retention is that it gives students who are truly behind developmentally a chance to catch up. Those students will begin to thrive once they are developmentally on level. Being in the same grade 2 years in a row can also provide a student with some stability and security, especially when it comes to having the same teacher in the same classroom. Retention is the most beneficial when the child that is retained receives intensive intervention in the areas that the child struggles most throughout the retention year. This program was helpful for my daughter. When she began to show signs of frustration during math class, her teacher would notify the intervention assistant hired by the school to work one-on-one both in and out of the classroom, providing helpful tips to assist her in better understanding. When retaining a child, generally the younger it can be done, the better the results. Once a child is in the 4th grade, it is virtually impossible for retention to be a positive thing. A small percentage of students are able to take struggles from the prior year and make changes that are lifelong. On a personal note, my daughter, who had an opposite experience from my son, was able to mature, learn how to interact with peers on a more age-appropriate level, allowing her to make friends and giving her confidence that she didn't have before. Although academics was never really the big issue for her, she needed to repeat the grade for maturity reasons. The outcome has been a positive experience for her, allowing her to gain confidence, which has resulted in better grades, better self-esteem, and behaviors. Often students are recommended to repeat the school year due to low test scores. Studies have shown that students who repeat a year have higher test scores over the next few years, with those test scores stalling after those first few years. Therefore, it seems students may need continued support and encouragement to continue to stay on track. But these improved scores most definitely allow the child to feel a sense of accomplishment they didn't have before. School retention can have both positive and negative effects, which makes it very important to weigh all options and consider what is best for the child. Some are obviously too far behind to catch up from promotion, and the problem only worsens. By choosing to retain the child, the struggles and problems that the child has faced may still be present but not so severe, and he or she becomes more accepted by the peers. Many argue that when a child is retained, others view them as being a failure. But in the big picture, we must agree that if we continue in the same grade, if the child continues in the same grade, others may view them as dumb, stupid, and all too often make jokes to belittle them. By retaining the child, if they appear more on grade level, the child is more accepted. By the new peers, making retention a positive experience. Unfortunately, many are faced with the decision each year whether to retain or promote their child, unsure of what the best choice is. When making this decision as a parent, we must remember that every child is different. Look at all aspects, socially, academically, and emotionally, before making the decision that will have long-lasting effects.